I love sharing with you when there is a current account reward or a bank switching deal which gets you free money. Most of the time, there's very little effort required for these. Sometimes you just open the account and you get something every single month, or sometimes the bank switching deal is simply just do that one switch and the cash is yours. But more and more, there are accounts where to trigger that bonus, often it's the monthly reward, but sometimes it is also linked in to that initial bank switch deal as well. You have to spend with your debit card. And you might think, what's the problem with that? If I'm using it as my main bank account, I am going to be making these transactions, anything from once a month to 20 a month, probably not going to be too hard to do. The issue is, if you're doing that, if you're spending with your debit card as requested, as required to get this promo, to get this freebie, it means that money isn't being used when you're spending on a cashback debit or credit card, which I think is easy money to do. All you're spending, you're getting generally 1% back, sometimes less, sometimes more. On all your spending is passive. It takes no effort at all. It's a really great thing to do. So sadly, you have to choose one or the other, right? Do you go for the rewards? Often they're more, the £5 a month, the free cinema ticket, wherever it might be, often a bit more lucrative than the 1% that you're going to get. You don't have to choose. That's the good news. There is a hack that I've been using for years now, which means you can do both, effectively doubling up, really stacking the rewards you're getting, the free money that you're getting from these different accounts. I'm going to take you through how to do this in a moment. But first of all, very quickly want to cover which of these current account rewards this works with, which are relevant to. I won't talk about the bank switching deals because they come and go so often. Remember, over at becleverwithyourcash.com/banks, there's a full list of all the current bank switching deals right now. You can look at those and see which ones do require debit card spending, and you can kind of put them between the two so you can find out the tricks I'm going to share with you right now, put them into use with those particular offers. But let's talk about those current accounts very quickly, which do require debit card spending to trigger the rewards. The big one here, and it's one that you've probably heard me talk about before, is Halifax Reward Current Account. This one will give you £5 a month or a free cinema ticket every single month, as long as you do two things. One of them is to put £1,500 into that account every single month. Relatively easy to do, doesn't need to be in one go, doesn't need to stay there, it just needs to be there cumulatively over the course of the month. That's really important, you must do that. But then you also need to spend £500 with the debit card. What I love about this one as well is you can have more than one of these. You can have three of these. So potentially, if you did choose that £5 reward, that's £180 a year you can get. Now, you obviously think about going, before I get to actually how to go work around this, is another reason why you would want this trick, because £1,500 spending every single month across those three debit cards could be quite tricky. £500 achievable, £1,000 maybe, £1,500, that's harder. So it's where this hack really comes into play, so you can maximize that. And again, if you're spending 1% on that equivalent spending elsewhere, it's the same money back as well. Effectively, that's going to be a £360 total you'd get if you spent £1,500 on that other cashback debit or credit card. So that's the first one. Again, cover that in a lot more detail elsewhere, the pros and cons of that. Another one which I haven't used myself because I think it's been a bit faffy, but it has been linked not just to a monthly reward, but also to some bank switching offers. So again, you might be thinking it's worth giving it a go. This is the TSB Spend and Save account. This is the free account. There's also a TSB Spend and Save Plus account, which comes with a £3 fee every single month. Now, the reward here is £5 every single month. It only lasts for 6 months on the free account. It's ongoing with the paid account, but obviously that fee is going to eat into your return. So over time, you will get more, but you're really looking at just a £2 return every single month for this. So if you're going to do it, I would think really it's just about that free account for that first 6 months. But to trigger that reward, it is 20 debit card transactions every single month. 20. Again, that is a lot. And even with the hacks I'm going to share with you right now, I'm not convinced it's worth the time and effort for that reward. But again, it is one that I know a lot of you do. And this last one is one that I certainly haven't done in the past. I don't think it's worth doing, but many of you have in our Facebook community. You've shared that you do this. This is the NatWest or RBS Digital Regular Saver. This is a high-paying account, 6.17%, but you are limited on how much money can go into this account every single month. Just £150. That isn't much to add in for many of you, but you can add more money to this account if you do something called a roundup. A roundup is when you spend with a debit card, and let's say you spend 78p on the debit card on something, then an extra 22p, rounding it up to £1, will be added to this account. There's also the feature called a double roundup. So actually, it'll be 44p added to this account. Now, again, if you're doing your normal everyday spending with your debit card, that's a nice little way to get more money in this high-paying interest account. But some people like to hack it, and they like to put maybe a penny on a debit card. wherever it might be, a penny on the NatWest debit card, which will then add money into it, 99p, or double it, £1.98, and potentially build up much larger balances. Although it still does have an absolute cap of £5,000, but it does get you fast. Again, one that I've not bothered with personally, but some of you have done this. So what is the hack? How do you get around this? Effectively, you're spending, as I say, without spending. Because what you're doing with this debit card, when you're spending whatever it might be, £500, 1p, whatever it is, you are not doing it at a retailer. You're not doing it at a shop or a business. You're instead using it to add money to another one of your own accounts. Now, there aren't many that allow this, but there are a handful, current accounts and savings accounts, that will do this. And what's great about this is you're adding that money in. So for me, when I'm doing it, it's £500 times 3, because I've got 3 of those Halifax Reward accounts, adding that money to whatever it might be, and then I can just send it back to myself. Now, you have to be slightly careful here when you do this for a couple of reasons. I like to leave that money in that account for a good couple of days, maybe a week, just so it doesn't look like the money's coming in and coming out, because that could sort of raise some red flags with the banks that we're using for this feature. They're thinking it's a bit dodgy, there's money coming in and out so fast. So maybe letting it sit there for a while. And also, this is why I'm not so keen on some of the ones which require lots of those debit card transactions, is too many in a short space of time, particularly small ones, also flags some warnings. And I've seen examples where people have had warnings about this, been told they potentially might close their account, or they've had that feature disabled. They've not been able to use these particular savings accounts and current accounts to top up with a debit card. So again, use it sparingly, spread it out, and that does obviously take more time to do it and more admin. So again, why you might not want to do it for the big ones, but I'll take you through the options in a minute so you can make that choice yourself. There is also another one which is very similar to this, and this is by using your debit card, your required debit card, to pay off a credit card. So if you are using a cashback credit card, for me, I'm often using the American Express one, I will put £500 for that Halifax reward and pay for that with a debit card. And that triggers the warning, I need to pay off that credit card anyway because I don't want to be charged interest. So it's a nice little way of hitting 2 birds with 1 stone. So what are the ways to do this? Let's go for them bit by bit. Let's start off with the using a debit card to add money to a current account. There are a handful that do this. Many of them David's, many of the digital ones that will let you do this. The key ones here are Monzo and Revolut. Now, Monzo, I get questions all the time. How do you do this? So what you want to do is you open up your Monzo app, select the payment tab at the bottom of the app. Then at the top of the screen, you'll see a QR code. Select that. And then at the bottom of the screen, it will say share link instead. Copy that link, open it into a browser. This is basically called Monzo Me link, and it'll be monzo.me/ something like your name. Open it up, put in the amount you want to pay, put in the debit card details, and the transaction will happen. You have used your debit card to add money to Monzo, okay? Remember, this is not doing a bank transfer. This is not a standing order or direct debit. It is using the debit card, the long card number. This is really vital with all of these things. It's a long card number on the account that requires spend on the debit card. You're using that to add money to a different account. So that's Monzo. You have a limit of £1,000 per month that can be received via the link, and also £500 from a single card. So if you are trying to do multiple ones, like the Halifax one, you've got 3 of those, or you've got different accounts that require it, you will be limited here to pretty much just doing it once. The other one that I use regularly is Revolut. Now, this is one that particularly tends to sort of have flagging up those warnings. So you have to be really careful with this one. But I've always been fine. But then I am only doing £500 once a month, and I'm letting it stay there for a week or so. This one, you select add money on the home screen, on the home page. It should be there, right? You see it under your balance, add money. You'll see a number of different options. Remember, choose the card option. You don't want the bank transfer. Enter amount that you want to, or enter the card details, save it on there, which means when you go back next time, you can just do it again and again. You just need to enter those 3 digits to confirm it's you and select the amount and pay securely. And that is done really nice and easy. And again, with both Monzo and Starling, so Monzo and Revolut, it's very easy to move that money back to whatever your main account is at a later date. Now, it says Starling there because Starling does do this as well. But this one has a maximum per card per day of 250 quid. So I'm not bothered because I need to do £500 for Halifax. Of course, if you're doing smaller amounts, you might want to look at that. You select the payments tab at the bottom of the screen, then keep scrolling to the bottom and you can choose request money. And then you'll see a settle up link. It works exactly the same way as that Monzo one did. The last one here is something called Zing. This isn't a current account, it's a prepaid account, but you can add money to that via your debit card as well. I've not used this one myself, but again, you can put money in and then send it back to yourself. So if you are wanting to try it out, or if you already have one of those accounts, that could help you out. Next up, we've got using your debit card to add money to a savings account. Again, there aren't a huge number of these that will do this, but there are a few, and I'll take you through them at the moment. The main one that I use when I want to do this is Chip, because again, it's digital, it's relatively easy. In fact, it's so easy, it connects to Apple Pay on my phone. I'm sure if you've got a Google phone, it'll connect to Google Pay. If the card is stored in that wallet already, it just does it really nice, really fast, really quickly. So Chip is a really good one. What's also good about it, although not always, it tends to offer a decent rate of savings. So if you are going to keep the money in there for a short space of time before transferring it back out, then you'll be getting, at least earning some cash on that one as well. Now, some of the other ones you could look at, there are some building societies here, which do allow us to talk about online deposits via the card. Some of them will also allow branch access, or some, which I'm not going to list here, might only allow you to pay this by your debit card in branch. But do be a bit careful with these, because they're obviously often these are a lot smaller institutions, not all of them, but often a lot smaller. So they might be a bit more wary about this happening on a regular basis. And potentially, if they think it's being abused by a large number of people, there's always a chance they'll remove this feature for all their customers. And some people might actually need this way of adding money to their savings account. So I'll give them to you just so you've got a list of them so far. But generally speaking, I would maybe try to avoid them. There's Cambridge Building Society, Darling Building Society, Dudley Building Society, Family Building Society, Skipton Building Society, and Yorkshire Building Society. You can also use your debit card to add money to NSNI. So there's their direct saver account. And obviously there are premium bonds as well. They can be a bit slower though to get the money out of those. And the online login process, it was a bit of a faff with NSNI. So again, I've done it in the past, but I tend not to do it because there are so many other options that I can use. There are also many investing apps that will let you add money via your debit card, but there could be fees associated with those. There could be other restrictions. So broadly speaking, I'm not going to go into them because I don't think you need them, because there are so many other options. But if you already have one of those accounts and you're adding money anyway every single month, it's good to get into practice to add money to your investing. It's worth seeing if you can do it by debit card, but just be careful. Like Trading 212, for example, after a certain amount will have a fee attached to it. So just watch out there. Incidentally, Hargreaves Lansdown does have an active savings account where you can top up by debit card. So that could be another savings one to consider. Obviously, I mentioned credit cards already. Makes sense to do that if you are using one of those. Just remember to check. Not every credit card will allow you to do this, but just be really careful when you're doing it that you are selecting the payment by debit card. As I said, I do this with American Express most months, and lets me store the details. So it's very easy for me to go back in every single month, as long as I have spent £500 on that card. Not always the case, because sometimes I'm using different payment cards for higher cashback rates, but that's a really easy way to do it. So there you go. That is my hack to send money to your own accounts, pay yourself with your debit card, so you can trigger rewards and bank switching incentives and then claim that money back. It's spending without spending. My name's Andy Webb. Thank you so much for watching. Check out these videos here for more ways to make the most of your money.